We have big news. We have exciting news for you. Tell them what it is, Serena.
We are super excited to announce that we are starting our first membership this January 2024.
Yay! Membership.
So we're excited to let you know that we will be hosting a monthly membership where when you join, you will be
with us live in a Zoom room once a month for a workshop like we just hosted. It's going to be a workshop like that, one topic each month, a different topic. You might even help us come up with the following month's topic from inside our membership. Super excited to meet you. It was so fun meeting a few of you in our inaugural workshop. So we're really looking forward to that.
And when you are a member, you will also be receiving a monthly newsletter where I'm going to be a little more intimate and I'll be sharing the things that are working and the things that aren't working for me.
Yeah, like taking a tool that you've learned from the podcast and how you're implementing it and how well that worked, or maybe if it didn't work. And then Amma can put in my 2 bits worth. We'll see how that goes. But a membership newsletter and a membership live Zoom room workshop starting in January 2024. Can sign up through our Patreon link in the show notes, yeah?
Yes, everything will be in the show notes, and we can't wait to see you there, listeners.
We can't wait. Yay!
Hey, mamas, welcome back to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. Today, for episode number 96, we're talking about sharing. And is that really age appropriate? Well, depends on what your kids' ages are. I'll tell you that my kids are 3 and 1, and it is not appropriate, which is what I learned in this week's episode. So if you're curious to find out when it's appropriate and how we can guide our kids and set the foundation blocks for them to be able to understand the concept of sharing, then stay tuned for this week's episode. I found it so helpful, and I loved sharing the information with my husband because we're constantly insisting on our kids to share. We're always saying, share with your little sister, or share with your older sister, share with your cousin, and there's a better way to do it. So if you'd like to learn how, let's get into it.
Hey, Mama, welcome to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. Do you want to end the constant battles for bath time? Do you find yourself emotionally exhausted at the end of the day? Do you wake up with big hopes for a smooth day of fun with your little ones, only to face an early morning meltdown because you peeled their banana the wrong way?
Silly you.
Silly you.
Hey, I'm Serena. I'm a mama of 2 little ones, and as a new mama, I constantly questioned myself. I wanted to make sure I was raising respectful kids while also building a strong bond with them. But I discovered that I had to unlearn my ideas that punishment was the way. With Lisa's encouragement, I've been practicing a respectful and gentle parenting approach, which is strengthening our bond as a family.
And hi, I'm Lisa. Amma means grandmother in Icelandic. I am a mama and an amma. And I have over 40 years of experience in childcare and parent coaching. And I am so excited to share the knowledge I've gained over these years with you.
Together in this podcast, each week we will explore some easy to implement skills you can add to your parenting tool belt to help you create a happy, thriving family.
I have a question for you. Do you feel embarrassed or frustrated when your toddler or preschooler won't share?
Very.
Or, right? Okay,
yes.
Good. I thought that might get a quick response. Okay, good. You, Serena, are not alone. I'm sure you, listener, may have had the same response. Okay, we're going to talk about sharing today, and I'm excited about this conversation. I mean, I'm always excited, aren't I? But I am really excited because for some reason, sharing has become this huge cultural expectation that is put on our little people. Sharing, it's like if your child is quote unquote good at sharing, it's like this marker for what kind of a child you have. It's a marker for positive pro-social behavior, right? I'm going to tell you the problem. The problem is toddlers and preschoolers are not developmentally able to understand the concept of sharing. It's not developmentally appropriate to expect our toddlers and preschoolers even to share.
Can I ask you
Period.
when it is?
Yes. Normally, with neurotypical developmental process with a neurotypical child, around ages 4 or 5.
Okay.
Okay, so just before they get into the kindergarten year, if they're going to school, some children will do it at early 4, others will be late 4, others will be into their 5th year. Now, that also is dependent on how it's gone for the first 4 or 5 years. And what you're going to learn is that we parents need to back up and get out of the way. We need to model, and I'll go into the details of all of this, but we need to let our children learn at age appropriate times and in age appropriate ways with our support, but not with us jumping in and saying, you need to share now. You need to give your brother the toy. You need to get off the swing so somebody else can swing. You need, we jump. Here's the timer. I'm going to set it for 3 minutes. Like, we are making it all happen. That's the really inappropriate part. And expecting that a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 1-year-old, even a 4-year-old is able to do this or should be able to do this, that's where we're running into cultural problems. Like, the whole society has a problem. Do you feel, when I ask that question, like when you're out in public and your child grabs something from another child, or your child gets something grabbed from them, it's like really awkward, right?
It's so awkward. And I feel like I see the tension more in the parents than in the actual kids.
Yes. Yes, you do. You are observing very keenly there, because one of the things I wrote down to say is demanding that our young children share is actually an adult problem. It's not a child problem.
This might be an interesting time, especially for this topic, since our pandemic babies have been isolated these past few years and they haven't really had many opportunities to be around other kids. So they haven't had those experiences with having to share. And so some parents might be really nervous going into the school year and their kids lacking that experience. I know some parents that are worried about their kids not sharing because they've been by themselves and had their toys to themselves all these years. And now they're going to have to.
And it's not developmentally appropriate for us to expect that they can share. Yeah. And I totally hear what you're saying. Those babies who are 3 years old, they've been born into the pandemic. They're still in the pandemic. They've been isolated at least for the first year, 2 years, some of us 3 years, still somewhat isolated, right? I get that. And Mama, I want you to trust the development of your baby and your child, right? I want you to trust that a child will learn how to do these things, especially with our compassionate support. But it's actually detrimental for us to jump in and try to make it happen. When we insist that a child shares, what we're wanting them to do is learn some compassion, learn some altruism, like thinking of somebody else and not just ourselves, and also learning empathy. Oh, that person wants something. I can do something to help that person, right? But because a child is not, the brain is not developmentally ready for empathy, What it does instead when we force sharing is it develops resentment. Kind of the opposite of where we're going,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where we're aiming, right? So here's the thing. Let's look at what sharing is. This is mine and you want it. I also want to say when you have friends come over, do they come over and like look at everything on your shelf and want to touch it and take it off and play with it, or read your book or try your clothes on? No, I'm guessing no, mama. Oh, Serena's giving a head nod, like maybe sometimes.
Who's
Yeah,
coming
maybe.
over?
Well, there is that too.
Yeah.
But maybe you do have a good, like,
Yeah.
best girlfriend.
Hmm.
And you've developed that relationship where that she can come in and she can go, I need something to wear tonight, and grab something out of your closet. And unless it's your, pristine special dress that you're going to wear this weekend, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But as a general rule, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we don't have our friends come in and quote unquote play with our toys or mess with our stuff, right? We've learned social mores around how to be in our friend's house, but it took years. To share, our brain needs to be able to, first of all, know that I am separate from you. We are separate from other people in our space. Remember, that individuation that we call it, doesn't happen until they're about 2. So if you're insisting that your 1-year-old share, this is an uphill battle. The brain doesn't yet realize that you're a separate entity. Then you have to realize not only is that other person in your room separate from you, but they have needs and desires that are different from your needs and desires. And they have needs and desires that they can have while you have yours, and they don't have to contradict. You can both have a desire, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of brain work that has to happen. We have to be able to rise above our own need or our own desire to be altruistic, to show up with empathy, to be compassionate for what someone else in the room needs. A toddler cannot be expected to do that. That part of the brain is the same part that has the regulation, self-regulation part, right? That frontal cortex, it's all in there. It's not developed yet. So that's why it's a problem. This forcing sharing, right? That's the basics. And we're teaching them, we're encouraging them to do this, generous act. And in fact, what we're doing is building resentment within their little bodies.
Yeah, I see that between my children because I have a 3 and 1-year-old. So I'll tell the 3-year-old to share with her little sister because the 3-year-old is more likely to share. And I get worried that that's building resentment between the 2 sisters because it's like, just give it to your little sister. Just give it. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. And
good. I'm glad you're aware of that. Yeah. Because that's actually that could well be happening. And that, that inner resentment and that the sibling rivalry, even though you're not seeing it as such, even it's, how does it go for the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next 10, 15 years? How are they when they're teenagers together?
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes it's just easier if we're trying to avoid the 1-year-old breaking out in tears. So we'll do that. And it's just easier to tell the 3-year-old. But I feel that brewing underneath, that resentment that's growing.
Okay, let's work with that. Let's work with that, because I so appreciate that you can feel that and that you have that awareness, Serena. That's really, really great. And other mamas out there, you likely have that intuition as well, that okay, I'm just going to put a Band-Aid on this real quick because
Yeah.
otherwise it's going to gush, right? That's going to be a bigger problem. And, recently we talked about leaving our children at school and leaving them feeling safe and secure, even if they're going through separation anxiety. And don't leave them secretly, like don't rush away without telling them. So that's the same thing here. It's like you want to do that because it's going to be easier. But in the long run,
Right.
right? We want to, this is a long run game. This is a marathon, not a sprint parenting. In case you haven't noticed in the first 2 or 3 years of life, this is a marathon. Welcome to the run. The other concept that's challenging for a toddler is the idea of ownership. They're just starting to know, you're going to, I'm guessing that you hear mine,
Oh yeah.
mine.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a concept of ownership. Now, if I own this and this is mine, and I'm asked to share it, does that mean it stops being mine? Can I own something and have that person play with it and it's still mine? And here's what I want to say, parents. Don't try to intellectualize this with them, because telling them it's okay, it's still yours, that's not going to really help. So we're going to go now and we're going to look at some examples. And I've asked Mama Serena to give us some examples of real life. What are you dealing with the sharing or not lack of sharing, so that we can talk through how, give you some ideas of how to encourage sharing, how to build those muscles, the sharing muscles. It is a learned skill. Okay. It's a learned skill. And what's one of the best ways to do it? Model the behavior you want to see.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So there are a million sharing opportunities in a day with kids.
Yes, there are.
The other day we went to the park and I had my youngest on the swing, and then a little girl came up behind and I could see that all the swings were occupied. And so I felt bad for this little girl. And even though I just put my daughter on the swing, she's only 1 and this little girl maybe was 2. So it seemed like she had a little more intention and like want or desire to be on the swing. And since my 1-year-old can't speak to me, I'm like, you don't need to be on the swing. So, all right, it's her turn to get on the swing. Let's get up and go. And then
awesome.
I felt kind of
Can I
bad
jump
about
in?
that. Yeah.
Oh, you felt bad because then you took your daughter off. What was her response to being taken off the swing right away?
She didn't want to get off the swing.
Okay, good. Okay, first of all, I want to acknowledge you noticing the 2-year-old coming up to the swing and all the swings are busy and they're in use, and you're noticing this child wants to be on the swing. That's what we call empathy. You want to help that child. That's empathy. So this is a learning moment. This is a teaching moment for you to share how empathy works with your 1-year-old. So you say, I see another little girl come up to the swing. It looks like she really wants to swing. Are you enjoying your swing right now? And what would your daughter have said?
Yes.
Would she have smiled or, said, whether it's verbal or nonverbal? Yeah.
She might say yes.
She's
starting.
Yeah. And she might have gone, with a big grin or whatever, right? Are you having fun on the swing? Yeah. So you read the nonverbal cue, and then you say, you let me know as soon as you're finished so that we could give that other little girl a turn. So you let your child have the autonomy to say when I'm done. And if she's going, no, I want to stay on longer. And of course, your youngest is fairly nonverbal still. But if you say, are you ready to give a turn to the other little girl. And she said, no. Okay. How about 5 more pushes? So you can allow her to make the call when she's ready. But if it's going on too long, and I want you, though, Mama, to really rein in your need to take care of the other children and the other child and your child and make it all better for everybody. Like we've got to rein that in. And in this case, if she doesn't want to give a turn right away, maybe another child on a swing has overheard you and a slightly older child, and maybe they go, you can have my swing. So when we offer children the words, this is like assertive, respectful empathy, right? That we're modeling. And when we offer children the words, it's amazing sometimes how quickly they will offer up something that if we had said, oh, we need to share, no, my turn, right? So that's one example, is just letting her, I can see how much fun you're having. I know how much you love the swing right now. How many swings would you like to have before we give somebody else a turn? 5 more pushes, 10 more pushes, 3 more pushes, that kind of thing. So then she gets to feel like she gets some choice. What's another example you have? Or did you want to say anything more about that?
That no, it's really helpful to have the vocabulary that I can use for her.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I'm just trying to quickly burn out the fire. Another example might be my niece is always here, and
Mm-hmm.
her and my daughter are always playing. And the moment one child grabs something, the other one wants the same thing. It's the
Mm-hmm.
blanket, it's a doll, it's the water bottle, and they have to have the same one. So we try
Mm-hmm.
to buy doubles when we can, because with the two of them,
Mm.
it's hard. But yeah, with them, and one, my daughter, she is more likely to share or take turns, and the other one is not. So it's easier when
Okay.
we see that something's going to happen to tell my daughter, give it to her for a little bit to not get the tears and the outbursts from her cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also not fair to my daughter.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And I want to point to, you said something about to share or to take turns. And I actually want to bring a distinction there. It's a really great distinction. So sharing means it's mine, but I have to share it with you. And how that ownership piece, right? Like, how does that work? But taking a turn doesn't mean it's yours ever. It just means you're having a turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually better language to be using instead of, come on now, you need to share.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm wondering when you'd like to give your cousin a turn. So let's just start with that whole scenario. So somebody picks something up. Somebody picks up the doll, and the other one says, I want it. I see that your cousin picked up the doll and she's holding her right now. And I hear that you would like to hold the doll. So then you can say, cousin, when you're done, can I have a turn? We want to give them the language. We want to start teaching them the language of sharing, of taking turns. When you're done, can I have a turn? And the older one or the other one may say, no, mine. And then you can say, right now, you really, really want to play with the doll. And I know that when you're finished, you will be able to let your cousin know, okay, it's your turn. And I so appreciate that that's going to be how it goes. other thing to do, and I should have said this first, when that happens, one picks it up, the other wants it, and they're maybe grabbing at it. Just don't say a thing at first.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't say a thing. Step back, bite your tongue. The children will figure it out. They will figure it out most of the time. If there's a tendency for hitting or biting or, that kind of rough stuff, then you need to stay close with a gentle energy and just be quiet and just let them figure it out. And then I want you to give them the appropriate words. I see, or you can say to them, I see how much you want the toy, and I see how much she wants the toy. I wonder how you guys are going to sort this out, because I know that you're good at sorting things out. And give them a bit of support in trusting that they've got this, right?
Yeah, I want to try that out next time.
Good. Also, and this isn't your specific example there, but when children are coming for a play date, and if the cousin is there a lot in your home, Serena, it might not be specific to this situation, but when somebody's coming for a play date, you can say to your child, which of your toys are you willing to share today, willing to take turns with today? And which ones would you like us to put away so that they don't get played with? Because your cousin's coming and we need to just have things out that you're happy for both of you to play with. And let her put a few things away, right?
I actually do that with my daughter, and she likes that, and she likes to put her favorite things away, and I love that tool. That's amazing because she knows when somebody's coming, and if she gets very attached to these little toys sometimes, and when we know someone's coming and that toy is out, I see that right now it's a fish. I see your little fishes on the table and your cousin's coming over. So if you want that fish to stay in your room so nobody touches it, let's go put it in your room before she gets here, okay?
Right. Excellent. Yeah. She gets to have ownership.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And she gets to have autonomy to say what is okay for her, what her boundaries are. She gets to have some assertion in her life, what works for her. And I really like that you're noticing that you don't want to keep insisting that your child who is quote unquote good at sharing has to always be the one.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that there's a bit here today that'll give you a few more tools so that give me one more example before we go of your 3-year-old. When you would encourage her to give something up for either her sister or her cousin.
As easy as the water bottle. So my daughter might grab her water bottle to take a sip, and then my 1-year-old sees it, and of course she wants it too. Awa, awa, awa. And I'll say, can your little sister have some of your water? Share with your little sister.
Perfect. So when your 1-year-old says awa awa, say, yes, I hear that you want water, and I love that you're using your words to ask for the water. Right now your sister's having a drink. And you could say, and you give this to your 1-year-old who is still not very verbal, but you give them the words. Okay, you can say to your 1-year-old, you can say, my turn next, water for me next. Give her a few words to use, right? Can I drink some water when you're done? Give her the whole sentence, and she'll pick out 1 or 2 or 3 of the words when she's ready to pick out the words, right? And then you can say to the big sister, I see that your sister is wanting some water. She sees you drinking and she thinks that's a good idea. When you're done, if you feel like it, could you share some with her? And if not, or could you offer some to her? And if not, I can get her a glass of water or a water bottle from the sink,
Yeah, that's good.
Give them both that power. I hear that you want water, and I see your sister drinking water right now. Yeah. And when somebody has a toy or the water bottle and the other one grabs it away, you want to say, I see how much you want that, and I'm not going to let you grab it. Grabbing's not okay. You can use your words. And as you're saying that, you can gently encourage them to give it back, like with your body. And if they're resistant, you can say, do you want to give it back, or do you want me to help you give it back? And then you use your words and say, I really want to hold that right now. I want to play with that right now. And then you give the other child words, okay, as soon as I'm done, you can play. And I want to reassure you that I have used this, giving them the language, so many times. And often there's like a big resistance to giving that next turn, right? And as soon as you give them the words, it's like a minute and a half. Okay, it's your turn. It really works its magic. All right. And the other thing is, I want you to really, really remember to bite your tongue and let your children sort it out, and to notice when they are taking turns, when they are giving something to another child who says, but I want that now. And I want you to notice and say, wow, I like how you used your words. And when your cousin says, no, I'm still playing with it, I like that she was able to say what was there for her, and that you are learning patience, because when she is done, she will let you have your turn. So acknowledging what you're seeing, describe what you see. That's a really, really good skill for your tool belt. Describe what you see, and then miracles actually can happen when we just give words to what we observe.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to jump in and fix it. Yeah.
Before we go, can I ask, because this quickly turns into tears, and sometimes it's me taking the toy and I have to put it away because I don't know how to fix it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or who deserves it or what. So if they are fighting over the Cinderella dress that they both want to wear at the same time and nobody's giving in, and it's tears on one side and yelling on the other side, what do I do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is you want to jump in as early as you see this happening. You know, you see the Cinderella dress, you see somebody going for it, you know that something's going to come up because it's come up before, that kind of thing. These are not one off usually, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to jump in. First of all, I want you to see what they'll do on their
Mm-hmm.
own. I see that you are really wanting to wear that Cinderella dress right now. And I hear how much your cousin wants to wear it. I wonder what you two are going to figure out to make this work for both of you. And then kind of walk away, unless there's hitting or biting or that kind of, but just kind of remove yourself. And I'm just going to be right over here folding the laundry. If you need some support, let me know. So that would be one thing, is to let them try to figure it out and don't jump in. This is the whole thing. Who deserves it? That whole, you go in and take it away because they're fighting over it. It's like we want to give them the power back. So if that doesn't work and it's escalating, okay, I can really hear how much you both want to wear this dress right now. Could you actually both fit in that dress, I wonder? That's going to be changing the mood, not the mind.
Okay.
Where would both your arms go in those sleeves? Would one of you have to be standing on your head? Okay, so that's one tool you could bring in.
That's an amazing
And
tool.
another, it works in so many places. And another one is, I really, really hear how much you want that dress that your cousin's putting on right now. And whoever is wanting the dress, you could move in towards them and kind of, if they'll let you, get close and touch and even hug them a little and say, oh, it can be so hard to wait your turn sometimes. I don't like having to wait my turn sometimes either. So you want to empathize with them. You want to reflect what they're feeling and experiencing. I get that. We want to be seen and heard, right? And I really see, but wait, you're not even putting the dress on, cousin. Come on. What are you doing? Do you want your turn or do you want to give your cousin the turn first? Because sometimes it looks like it's just a battle of the wills, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it is a battle of the wills. They're trying to figure out who's leader here. How's this going to go? And they might want to get your attention and get you involved. So the least you can be involved, other than giving them some words. Okay, I know, cousin, that you really want to wear it. And as soon as I'm done, I will give you a turn. You say that for them. When I worked in the under threes daycare, 14 2-year-olds, we had to give them the words all the time because there were 14 of them in a room and they were 2, 1.5. A lot of them weren't very verbal. So giving them the words of empowerment, acknowledging them, reflecting their feelings, giving them assertive language.
I'm sorry, I think this is happening right now downstairs. Oh. As we speak.
Okay, we're going to sign off and you go try it and then come and tell us how it went.
All righty. Thank you so much, Amma.
You're welcome. We love you, everybody. Take good care.
It was kind of funny because I started to hear my youngest crying and I heard my husband yelling Andrea, which is my 3-year-old daughter's name. So I just knew he was telling Andrea to give something to Aniston so she would stop crying, and that's exactly what happened. So I was happy to share with my husband all the information I learned from this week's episode and to give you my top gems from this week's episode. I'd like to start with number 1, which is the most foundational, and it's just that our kids literally do not know how to share until ages 4 to 5. So my 1-year-old cannot share, my 2-year-old cannot share, my 3-year-old cannot share, and around 4 or 5 is when they should be able to understand the concept of sharing. So I had to listen to this for the second time to really get it, but just listen to what Amma says here.
Not only is that other person in your room separate from you, but they have needs and desires that are different from your needs and desires. And they have needs and desires that they can have while you have yours, and they don't have to contradict. You can both have a desire, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of brain work that has to happen.
That's quite a concept. That's a lot for a little kid to understand. Number 2 is give them words. So in this episode a few times, Amma was giving me words to give to my 1-year-old. And my 1-year-old is not very verbal yet. She's starting to say no. She'll say see sometimes. She nods more than she'll say yes. And it's funny when Amma gives me the words to give to my 1-year-old. It seems funny because she's not very verbal. But that's the groundwork that sets them up to be able to have the words for what they want to express. That's how they learn. That's the modeling. It's giving them the vocabulary and giving them a sense of ownership. It seemed funny, but I do talk to my 1-year-old like that. I do tell her things and I try to give her words and I try to describe what's happening so she can begin building those blocks. So I thought that was a great tool. Number 3 is don't step in. We are so quick. Sometimes we're listening in the kitchen as our kids are playing and then we're like, hey, what's happening? Like Amma said, bite your tongue, zip it. Just try not to step in unless there's hitting and, it's getting scary. Or don't even let it get there. But that's when you should step in, not within the first few seconds when you hear it starting. And for someone like me who does say, hey, share, do this, do that, instead, try to describe what you see. So, like the example with the water. You see your sister drinking some water. Maybe when she's done, she'll give you some. And if her sister says no, that's her water bottle. She's allowed to say that, which brings me to 4 is that they don't have to share. They don't. If it's her water bottle, she doesn't have to share it. I don't have to share my water bottle with my friend. And so we also need to respect that. And if we want our kids to respect us, we need to and model that. So when there's an opportunity and an easy one, as little as that, we have to respect that they don't want to share their water bottle. All right, mamas, I love this episode. I got a lot out of it. I hope you did too. And we will see you next week for our end of the month listener Q&A. Can't wait to see you there, and take care, mamas. Also, before you go, if you enjoyed this week's episode, we would truly, truly, truly appreciate if you can send it to another mama friend that you might have, or if there's one thing that you really enjoyed, or a few, you can go into Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. It really helps other mamas find our podcast. It helps the algorithm. It just helps us pop up more when moms are looking for help. So if you enjoyed this and if this has helped you, please help another mama and just take 2 minutes and leave a review. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye-bye.